with Jenny and Jenny. This is the Noonas podcast with Jenny and Jenny.
Dual set. Heart to heart. Noonas podcast. Welcome back to the Noonas podcast. It is your host, Jenny, and as always with my co-host, Jenny.
Hello.
And I guess we both survived the McDonald's meal, surprisingly.
I'm kind of craving for more like, I'm so unhealthy, and I'm kind of craving for more like the dipping sauce.
I'm not gonna lie, I am too. I'm like, do I
know.
really go run and get some after we're done recording today? Maybe.
I just had one yesterday, but I always like complete my meal. Before the BTS meal, I always complete my meal with the quarter pounder, 10-piece chicken McNugget, Coke, large fries, and then maybe if I feel like it, Oreo McFlurry. Like this is my usual like thing to get at McDonald's.
I know. I'm usually like a chicken McNugget person. Like usually I'm chicken McNuggets, usually barbecue sauce, fry, McFlurry, and the drink. Although, praise be the orange high C is back because that is the best stuff from my childhood, and thank God it's back. Whoever I need to praise for that, thank you. But. Not even gonna lie, like the new dipping sauces are really, really good. But yeah, I will like sometimes wrap it up with an Oreo McFlurry too, and I have to put extra Oreo in it because I feel like they always skimp on the Oreo too.
Bounce out the sweetness, with the salty like meal that we've digested. But also like with the addition of the BTS meal, it's like it wasn't anything different from what I've previously eaten. Like it's my daily routine, eating in McDonald's. It's like the only difference is like the dipping sauce, which I never dip my like fries or my chicken nuggets in any not even in ketchup. So this is like a new experience, kind of a new experience for me, like trying out dipping sauce with my chicken nuggets. Like
wait. You've never had you've always had your chicken nuggets plain. You've never dipped them in anything.
What? Nope. I am a very plain person. I am like a very boring, plain, like very bare person.
Color me shocked because I'm like I always had barbecue with mine, although I do eat my fries plain because I'm always eating on the go, so like I can't do ketchup on the go because that's a mess. But like obviously the dipping sauces are very different, and I will say this, please keep the dipping sauces after this promotion's over because the dipping sauces are great. But yeah, I mean it's not anything different than like a typical McDonald's meal. They just slapped BTS's name on it. It's like, hey, Army, come to McDonald's, give us your money because BTS's name is on this meal. So,
right.
And we're shameless. So, whoops. But I guess besides the BTS meal, I mean, there's other stuff obviously happening in K-pop this week. Besides Butter, obviously dominating the charts, not just obviously in Korea, but here in the Western world, especially in the United States.
No.
I know, shocking, right? We're going to get into that coverage today with Butter, again, just dominating everywhere. As well as our album reviews for the week. We got 3 different albums to review this week. We have a solo debut from Red Velvet's Joy. A album comeback from BTS's little brother group Tomorrow by Together.
Apparently a lot of fans like hate like being like or them being labeled as being as a little brother. I was like, just let for the non-fans, like they are associated with BTS, like they're under the same company, so calm down on it. They still have their own their own thing.
They are definitely their own thing, and I'll get into that when we review their album because I feel like they really have like established themselves as like one of the pinnacles of the 4th generation of K-pop. But Tomorrow by Together is back with a new album this week, as well as a comeback album from 3rd generation group Monsta X. We got more music coming back here to kind of kick off our summer, right? But I guess let's just dive into this Butter news because.
Yeah, let's dip into it and like smooth things out and like
One of our producers is going to kill us.
Me.
One of our producers is going to kill us because we're just going to keep throwing butter puns at people because it's fun. But yeah, in shocking news to nobody, obviously Butter's been dominating the charts, which was obviously to be expected because BTS being BTS. And obviously we had to wait a day because of the Memorial Day weekend for the Billboard Hot 100 charts because of the holiday. They didn't release it on Monday. We did not get them until Tuesday. And sure enough, Butter did debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now their fourth song to debut on the Billboard Hot 100 after Dynamite, after Life Goes On, and after technically Savage Love counts as a BTS song, even though it is technically a collaboration with Jason Derulo and Jowish 685. But still technically counts because BTS did, it is the remix with BTS on it. So it technically is their fourth song on the Hot 100 at #1, debuting. So, this is another historical accomplishment by BTS. They are now the first group ever in the history of the Billboard Hot 100 charts to have 3 songs debut at #1, being Dynamite, Life Goes On, and Butter. The only other artists to have songs chart and debut at #1 are Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, and Drake.
Yeah.
And those are soloists. So pretty high accomplishments already.
Mm-hmm.
It also is the fastest that a artist or a group have had songs chart or debut at #1, because they have had now 9 months since Dynamite started at #1 and now Butter. So they've taken 9 months for 4 songs to debut at #1. Fastest artist to have that achievement since Justin Timberlake back in 2006, 2007. On top of that, Butter also debuted on the Billboard Digital Song Sales Chart, which is their 7th song to do that. Again, 7 being a very, very lucky number in the fandom. They're, again, the first group ever to have that accomplishment on that chart. Also debuted on #1 on the Billboard Global 200 and Global excluding the United States chart. So basically, they all killed the Billboard charts in the United States, which is a pretty amazing accomplishment if you think about it. There's nobody out there doing it like BTS. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they're killing both Korean charts and American charts. So
yeah, and also like the fact that they're how they're going to be like sweeping up the music shows too. Like they started they started, earning #1 at I think Music Core, and then and then Inkigayo. But like you said, you mentioned this, that I don't think they're gonna be qualified for other music shows, but it's still mm-hmm. Imagine how much they're gonna be taking #1s for every every week. They kind of how they did with Dynamite, which almost makes me feel bad for other groups trying to release or promote their new comebacks, but. Mm-hmm. At least going to another group, Everglow is actually getting some wins too. So at least they're getting some of their some of theirs to shine too. But yeah, with Butter and how it's dominating worldwide, it's just gonna be a tough competition for a lot of artists to compete, or I guess try to promote and not be overshadowed. But still, it's still proving once again how how long will this K-pop thing will last. But mm-hmm. It seems like it's gonna be a really big mainstay for the music music genres, or mainstream music worldwide. So
yeah, I would love to see obviously more K-pop artists chart in the country. I think you see more K-pop artists chart on the global excluding United States charts. I definitely have seen a lot of groups charting in that. I've seen a lot of them chart on the Billboard albums charts, which is a very big accomplishment. But yeah, to see it'd be really nice to see more of them start to chart on the Billboard Hot 100. And again, let's note too that a lot of this with BTS is still a lot of like lack of radio play. I mean, I still haven't heard a ton of news about them getting a lot of radio play, even with Butter.
Okay,
So
a funny thing. Apparently, I don't really listen to like the radio anymore. But apparently, like this like short like days after Butter was released on YouTube, uh, like by our radio play because Tabby was listening to the radio when she's going to work, and they are already playing already playing Butter like within an hour of play. So I think in our Canadian radio, I think they're giving more shine with BTS's Butter because like even like last year, like during last August, like how much they've been playing Dynamite. So I'm not quite sure like what the difference is with your with the US and like in Canada. I'm just like pointing that out here.
Yeah, no, I think it also depends on like the markets and stuff too. Like I think in the bigger cities, obviously BTS gets more love, but like where I live, which is very, very rural, there's not a lot of play obviously out where I live. So because I live in the middle of nowhere. So I just
BTS.
There's very, very, very few BTS fans out by me. I have found them, but they're very few. But yeah, I mean, and then I'm still seeing articles written out there. Like I saw an article today, and I'm not even going to mention the publication or the author of said article because it is a bunch of garbage. But basically, again, kind of, and it's hilarious how this comes up when it's a non-Western artist breaking records and sitting on top of the charts, and then complaining about how we achieve people are getting to number one like through remixes, through all like through the fans and stuff. And it's like funny how you're doing this now when it's a non-white, non-Western artist, but when it's obviously something that's not white, it's then there's something's wrong with the system. It's like, nope, they're just playing your game and they're winning at it. And obviously the fandom knows what they're doing, and the fandom's very smart, and the fandom's very diverse. And there's a lot of people stuck in this very archaic thinking. So I either need to, I don't know, come to the 21st century and come to modern times, or you need to fix the charts or something. Yeah. I don't know.
I even saw like an article, which I didn't actually read, but this is like headlines about talking about how K-pop, like, the whole genre is like really overtaking the American market, and even, like overshadowing a lot of like mainstream like American artists today, like on that, because apparently like not a lot of people are like listening to like other like North American like bass artists anymore. Like not that it's it's like dwindling, but like K-pop is becoming such a like a dominant force into this into the media that it's becoming like more talked about and becoming like more like watched and more more like something that people will listen to, and how that people like talk about like other like artists here like Ariana Grande or Justin Bieber. But I think like the only exception would be like Bad Bunny. I think he's becoming like more of a prominent figure in here, but he's like more of like Puerto Rican like demographic, but he's still like sweeping into like the the radio play as well. But it's still a lot. It's so telling how like K-pop is like very, very much a prevalent thing today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how like we're seeing this growth, and just again, it's just going to be kind of fascinating to see, I think, how it's going to continue. And like again, I just want to see, like I want to see more K-pop artists being able to chart here in the country, because I think they're deserving of it, because there is a lot of talk about them being there, on the chart, because obviously a lot of people do listen to K-pop in this country. I mean, I just shared an article on my Facebook this week, because it's from the Grammys of all places, talking about 5 groups that are up and coming that, you should really keep an eye on, that are, breaking out in K-pop. And, there are groups that we've talked about on the show. It's the Tomorrow by Together, who we're going to talk about later, and Hyphen, ATEEZ, Stacey, who I need to get into because they just debuted and they've already been killing it. All of them are amazing groups, and it's just, there's a lot out there that are like really kind of, breaking the mold and there's a lot out there that we can, take from K-pop, and, it's just a very different sound, and it's very different from what we see here in the Western world. And I think that's what people are gravitating towards. And yeah, people again have that like a little xenophobia, I think, barrier to get past it. And I see more people at least like kind of breaking that down, but I like to see it hopefully crumble further,
Yeah, it also leads to the question like whether like the eligibility and like being able to play a K-pop song in our North American radio, like do they always have to be like English versions or English like singles? So like when will there be a time where like popular radio streams will start like including like actual K-pop music, like with them like singing in Korean?
Yeah. I mean, how many of the groups that we follow have released English versions of their songs to hopefully get some kind of, traction in the country? I mean,
yeah, or trying to appeal like with the North American demographic by releasing like more of an English majority of a song. Because, we did that with, Super M with 100, or also with their one Monster and Infinity. And even Blackpink too, like doing Ice Cream with Selena Gomez. Yeah.
And even Monsta X did a whole English album at the beginning of 2020 to really establish themselves here in the country, to kind of get themselves a foothold here in the country. And I mean, I've seen Stray Kids drop English tracks. I've seen ATEEZ drop English tracks. I've seen a lot of groups drop English tracks just to try to, again, get a grip on the Western market, because they know that they could possibly do that. And I don't think they need to rely on that, because a lot of us do obviously like the Korean music, but again, it's that whole, archaic radio play thing, even though the radio format is dying and everyone mostly focuses on streaming stuff on either Spotify or whatever
YouTube or
streaming app you use. But yeah, I mean, and it's probably going to take a while, because again, old white men run the music industry, I feel like, in this country. So it might take a little bit of time for that to change, but I mean, hopefully it is starting to change for the better. I mean, for crying out loud, if you looked at the top 10, most talked about artists on Twitter last year, obviously BTS is number 1, but like even in the top 5, ATEEZ is number 5 in the country, in the United States last year, which at that point was, they had just gone out of rookie status, was pretty impressive. So there's so much out there, and like again, I don't think K-pop is going away, and people are like, when is this ever going to die? Because I mean, and I guess in Korea it's kind of not as popular, but at this point it really is becoming more of a global commodity than it is a Korean commodity. It's just from Korea.
Like the same thing with anime apparently too. Like in Japan, like not a lot of kids or not a lot of like youth are into anime as much as like people, here in the, North America or, like in Europe. So it's kind of like the same thing with K-pop, like, it's becoming like a very influential like thing happening like in our culture and our media. And and hopefully like the ones who, were saying like, oh, like this thing needs to die and all, all that, like they need to like, realize like, no, you're pretty much like the old man yelling at cloud at this point.
The old man yelling at the kids to get off their lawn. It feels like a little bit, but I see this growth, and I want to see more besides obviously BTS, because seeing BTS get these successes is fantastic. Not just obviously here in the States, but even back home in Korea, where they're currently sitting at over 190 perfect all kills on the Korean charts as well, and counting over there.
Yeah.
Which means, perfect all kill mean they're like killing on all the tracking charts for the daily and for like real time charts in Korea.
But if you keep on relying BTS, it's like you're one of your leaders in like pushing K-pop into into like the Western society. And like if you oversaturate them much, it's going to be burnout. Like people are going to be like really exhausted because and they're going to be like equating BTS with just like the entirety of K-pop. So that's why I keep it promoting and pushing other like groups that that I always follow, like EXO, NCT, Mamamoo and like Red Velvet, like they need like equal love as like with BTS.
Yes. Yeah, this is why we promote. This is why we promote being a multi-stan, and this is why we promote all these groups that we promote on the show, because there's so many groups out there, and you can find something that's your flavor and that's your taste, and that would kind of fit what you want for the day. So, K-pop is not just BTS, and BTS is not just K-pop. They are not. Coexisting, because a lot of people make the argument that K-pop, BTS isn't K-pop anymore. They've transcended K-pop technically, now they're just pop music. But at this point, they've kind of paved the way. And I say this as the very cliche term that they've paved the way, but they really have paved the way for a lot of the groups nowadays to get the recognition here in the West.
Yeah.
So
I love how I love in 2012 it was like K-pop equals size Gangnam Style, and now it at this decade it's now BTS.
Yeah. So
or Blackpink, or to an extent, but also
to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and as we get into our album reviews of the week here, it means again we have more K-pop music coming out. Like I said, there's so much out there, and it doesn't matter. You just kind of have to just take the jump and just kind of dive in. That's what I tell people. If you're getting into K-pop, it doesn't have to be BTS. It can be whatever kind of fits your fancy, because there's so much out there.
Yeah, in the words of former Monster X's Wonho, keep an open mind, girl.
Pretty much. So shall we get into these album reviews for the week? Because we got a few albums to cover for a busy early week of a busy Memorial Day. We had a busy Memorial Day Monday, at least here in the United States. I had a busy Memorial Day Monday. Thank God I had the day off. But because we had 2 albums drop on Monday, and then we had another album drop yesterday. We are recording on Wednesday, so unfortunately we are not going to get to our Kingdom coverage. That's going to be saved for next week. So our Kingdom finale coverage. So you probably also see me raging probably over on Twitter and on Facebook with that over the weekend. So prepare for that. But that'll be next week. But yeah, let's get into our album reviews. And I guess we'll start with our first one with our solo debut of the week. And another debut from the group Red Velvet, one of the singers, and that would be Joy, with her debut album, Hello, which they're kind of pegging as a special album from her. And she did release a pre-release single last week with Jatame, and then the album dropped, and then dropped the album on Monday with the title track of Hello.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this album is actually all these songs are covers of very popular songs from the 90s and 2000s in K-pop. And so
I see.
So it's Joy kind of taking and doing her take on all these cover songs, or these songs that are covered, that it's her cover of these songs. So
all the tracks are not her original songs?
Correct. They are all covers.
Oh wow, it kind of reminds me of Joan Jett, because I think that's what she was really most known for doing. She does a lot of covers of older older songs, but she still made it her own thing, right? And so now that I learn about with Joy, it's kind of the same vibes for me.
Yeah, because the album has a lot of a very retro feel. I mean, even if you look at the album, the digital artwork, with her kind of posing and this it feels very, very early 2000s album, with the striped top, and then with the her pose and stuff. It feels very, very early 2000s, something I would have totally had when I was in middle school. I am totally dating myself at this point. But yeah, it very much has this very retro feel, because you can definitely tell the style of these songs from the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah. For me, I could actually extend the decade, because like to me how I like perceive Joy listening to this album. It feels like she has an appreciation and a bit of an old soul when it comes to like having like this older like sound into like to music. Like it could like date back like her style in this album. It really it feels like it's very timely. Like it's like placed in a very like older like generation of like popular music. Like I think with her title track "Hello," it feels like it's like something I would listen to like from like the '70s playlist. Like it feels like very like 1970s with like the usage of like the '70s sunshine pop genre, which is like, if you don't know what sunshine pop is, it's like a Californian based subgenre where it has like a very upbeat tone, and it like talks about like the most positive aspects of life and in the world. It kind of like it has like this really warm and welcoming feeling. Like you just feel like overjoyed throughout of the music. So that's kind of how I felt with like her song with "Hello." Like very like 1970s, very upbeat, very like it's like also uses a lot of like like guitar, and also like the horns too, the horn instruments as well.
Yeah, it's Hello's a very bright, very positive track. It has this very sunshiny, positive feeling to it. Even the music video is very, very like kind of positive and kind of like go-getting kind of feeling. A very retro-ish vibe. Like I really did take the music video, just kind of like this kind of like fun road trippy adventure that she's on with this little girl throughout like the countryside of Korea. Like it's super cute. Like the music video is super cute and adorable.
Again, it looks like another like kind of feels like it goes back to like the '70s feel, because it's like the countryside, and there's not a lot of like modern technologies that we have today, and even like wears this really like down to earth, like very like retro looking attire as well. And it almost like dates into like the hippie style of like fashion in the 1970s. Even the music itself, kind of like the first thing that comes to mind is like feels like very I'm walking on sunshine type of energy,
Yeah, it feels very bohemian in a way, like just kind of like especially like her and like the Volkswagen like camping band, just kind of going through the countryside and stuff. It just it has a lot of those kinds of vibes and stuff, and like it just kind of continues that vibe almost throughout the album, because the album really just kind of continues that retro feeling throughout, even with the covers. Again, these covers still being songs from the 90s and 2000s, but I feel like she kind of takes them and does bring them back even further into like this older style, like 70s, 80s pop in a way.
Even in like her second song, which was her pre-single for Je T'aime, the sound really reminds me of like way like in like goes back into like a very 1950s like whimsical musical number for me, because it kind of has like this very like there's no like electronic implementations into the track itself. Kind of feels like they use it just like very traditional music, and very like like the strings and using like all of those instruments together is like it feels very dated, but not in a bad way. Like very like it felt like you think it would belong in that certain timeline.
Yeah, it kind of feels back, harken to that like generation of music that you would see. And it doesn't feel super dated. It still feels kind of have like a little bit of like those modern tinges. Like it doesn't have a lot of electronic sounds to it. It still sounds very heavy on the instrumentals, like a lot of the guitar and the bass and the piano throughout, but it definitely has that more whimsical kind of feel to it, that very retro whimsy, I guess, for lack of a better term. So I will say, I guess I am a little disappointed that it is just all covers and there's nothing original on the album, unlike obviously her bandmate Wendy with her solo debut, where we got original stuff from Wendy. Obviously working with the writers that are contracted through SM Entertainment, who have worked with SM Entertainment. It's all covers work, and for her, so it's nothing new. So it's been kind of nice to see her maybe try something a little bit different. Again, this is my biggest critique of the album, is that the fact it's just all cover songs. and
I would say
unique.
so. Yeah, it could have fooled me. It could, yeah, I didn't know about like it was all covers until now.
Yeah.
I think if I could like just like add something into it. I like how like the differences between like the musical styles between Wendy versus Joy, because with Wendy it feels like very ethereal. Well, with her style of like like having like a very like folk music, and the use of her vocals, like her, because she's one of the most powerful vocals in SM entertainment. Like it really transcends into like another like realm, and also like she utilizes, like she's known for her her vocalizations, and kind of has like gives you like a romantic sublime feeling well throughout the whole album. Whereas with Joy, she doesn't really rely on like like strong vocalizations, but more so like using like this really playful like tone, and like the essence of like nostalgia, and like going back into like different decades of popular music, and like making it more modern, or making it like presenting to a newer crowd for them to appreciate the sounds. So that I think that's how I would be able to differentiate those two, and they both have like their own strengths, and having their own thing, having their own style.
And they obviously then, those two then separate themselves out even from like the duo of Irene and Slugi, who, debuted last year in 2019, and definitely had, way more of a modern take of their stuff, with Monster, and like,
it feels very more way like more K-pop based.
Theirs was, that's like the most K-pop of all three of the the solo debuts we've seen from them. From the these solo kind of breakoffs from Red Velvet. Irene and Slugi's were definitely the most K-pop. The Wendy's and Joy's have been more kind of more Westernish, I guess, in a way. For lack of a better term.
Like a standard K-pop sound, and tries like more of like the more like genres that has never been touched by K-pop before. Because how like K-pop utilizes more like the heavy EDMs, recently. But I really appreciate that like they're doing it, like they're doing more of it, going on more of the traditional route. And like you couldn't, like, I think if I could like show this to like people who don't listen to K-pop, they could have like not know the difference, or like, oh, well, they didn't know that they came from a K-pop like artist.
Right. Yeah. You almost like the only thing is that they're singing in a different language, but it feels very something like you could listen to, like, again, even like looking at the album stuff, and it's kind of hilarious too that they're actually releasing it both on digital and both on like cassette tape too, so it kind of has this very retro feel to it.
Where's the vinyl edition of it?
I know, I'm like, wait, you're releasing cassette but you're not releasing it on vinyl. Come on, SM. Because vinyl's in right now. I have a vinyl player. Come on, guys. I would totally buy a vinyl, because I mean, it feels like it would be something you could put on a record player, and still really would fit. So, but yeah, I mean, I think she's got, because she has a very unique voice too. Obviously she's not the strongest vocal, that goes to Wendy and Red Velvet, but she still has a very unique color in the group. Sorry for the pun, but I mean, I think why it gives Red Velvet such great diversity in their sound, because they they can go and do all these different kinds of genres and different kinds of styles with their vocalists. So and that makes them a very unique sounding girl group, and that's why I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting something from Red Velvet this year, hopefully.
I really like enjoy like a lot of Red Velvet's stuff in music. I think I prefer more of their Velvet side, where they do more of like R&B. I think that's more to my taste. And like some of their more like popular pop side of like the album, it has like a very unorthodox like feel to it, but it still makes them like Red Velvet. Like it kind of takes into like very weird turns.
Yeah.
But it still defines them as Red Velvet, because they kind of have like this unnerving like energy from them. But I am glad like when they're venturing out as solo artists, that they're taking it like different, and they're not really associating from like their group efforts as Red Velvet. So I really appreciate that they're doing that.
Yeah, it at least gives them a chance to kind of branch out and show different sides of themselves. So, and that's kind of what I hope when these artists do their solo work, that they can kind of branch out and showcase different aspects of themselves. So I do appreciate that. So yeah, like I said, my only critique, it's all cover. I wish it was she got at least like maybe one original song in there, but I think it's a pretty solid cover album.
Cover album.
Yeah. So, but should we get into our next album of the week with Tomorrow by Together?
Yeah, let's do it like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, but I don't know. I couldn't think of anything clever.
I was struggling to come up with a transition with this one too, and I couldn't anything. But this is kind of actually a bigger transition too with Tomorrow by Together, because we're now kind of transitioning to a new chapter in their music and a new era in their music with their second full album as a group with the Chaos chapter Freeze. So we've now officially ended their first era of music, which was the Dream chapter, which was from their debut up until Dream Chapter Eternity, which came out early 2020. I think Eternity came out, I think it was like May of 2020. And then we had a bit of a break with Minisode 1 with Blue Hour. And then now we're kind of starting this new chapter with them with Freeze. And now back with the title track. And I love the fact that they keep doing this with their really, really long title tracks. Zero Times.
Yeah. Tomorrow by Together and Day 6 recently with their album is like such a long ass name. Like I couldn't really I remember like what the album was when taking notes today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, at least, well, like I know with Tomorrow by Together, like with their title tracks, like they're always really long in Korean, and then they always shorten them really short in English. This one's just been completely in English, and so it's 0 times 1 equals love song. I know I love you, featuring Siori. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I will say this is a really good song.
Is it going back to your emo rock or your alt rock?
My god, I was going back to like my emo punk rock loving days so much with this whole entire song. Like it was checking all those boxes off for me, especially with the styling and the music video, just the driving guitars throughout the whole entire track. It just checked a lot of my boxes for me. This feels a lot like kind of like Tomorrow by Together kind of doing and I know people are going to hate me for this because people want me to compare them to BTS because again, they're both under Big Hit Entertainment, or Big Hit Music I should say now, because it's under Hybe, but Big Hit Music is technically the label under Hybe that they're under. But it feels like kind of like their take on their Most Beautiful Moment in Life era with this song.
Well, yeah, for those me, of you, it reminds me a lot of like I Need You, like the music from I Need You, as well as like the music video. Yeah, delved into a lot of like really like mature subject matter stuff, like realistic and very like dark relationships with like with people.
Yeah. And it kind of fits with how they've been kind of doing the storyline, because they've always been really open about talking about how their music's kind of like for the youth growing up. Even from their debut with like their first track with Crown, kind of talking about growing up in like the awkward teenage stages. And obviously it makes sense now, 2 years down the road, over 2 years down the road now, they're growing up, they're getting more mature, and now you're kind of getting to these like more mature kind of situations in your life, and you're getting to kind of figure out what like love and stuff is going to be, and like kind of situations. And it feels very like the trajectory for them is just kind of going in the right direction, and them just continuing to play with genre throughout their music is just always been the most fascinating thing, because they've never really stuck to one genre. They've always been kind of all over the board.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like it can still have like the same, or kind of has like the same certain sound to them that still defines them as Tomorrow by Together. Because I think like their overall concept is about them, like like young boys, like trying to transition into like becoming like men in their life, but still having, it's kind of like almost like a Lost Boy, like the Peter Pan Lost Boy type of like element. that has like this really childlike element into like their sound, and they still
Yes.
you can still kind of hear that essence into like their album, even some of their some of their tracks, other than like their I Know I Love You title track.
Right. Yeah, you can kind of hear it in the B sides, but I'll get into the B sides, but let me get into I Know I Love You a little bit more, because like I feel like there's a lot going on in this track, and it's just like, again, it's just it's more rock oriented than I've seen them do. Obviously for Fourth Generation, we've talked a lot about like know how much electronic EDM, rap heavy stuff. Like this is so rock forward. To the point, like, I mean, we got, even with the vocalizations, like with Bamgu and Taehoon, like with their lower registers, like I was not even expecting that kind of stuff, like really raw, powerful, emotional vocals from them, in the pre-chorus, and just kind of how everything just kind of fits together. And like even with Subin's more kind of airier, higher range, it works really well in the second verse. It's just kind of interesting in how it ties together.
Yeah, it feels like the I Know I Love You song. It feels very like I'd hear somewhere from like American music, because it feels like something that Fall Out Boy would probably sing about, and how they would like deliver what they're singing, even like with one of them, like how like they deliver the guttural, or like this really grisly, like like the I Know I Love You. It feels like someone like from Fall Out Boy is like, wow, it feels like it doesn't feel like a K-pop like standard sound. It feels more of like like an American thing. Like it could have fooled me if they weren't, if they were like singing like another language, but like with the music and how they sang overall, it feels like very much in tone of like what I would listen to back in when I listened to the radio.
Yeah, it's a very, very Western sounding song, which is very interesting. Especially too, like, because of all people who have a writing credit on the song, RM from BTS has a writing credit on this song, which apparently he kind of spoiled back in February, hilariously enough, which we didn't realize until now, because RM likes to spoil shit. But yeah, I mean, because he kind of helped them out with some of the stuff, because I know they were kind of lost and trying to figure out what their title track was going to be. And I think he kind of helped to guide them in the right direction. So, and to their, to the betterment of this. I mean, as for the rest of the album, like, again, this album has a lot of different genres on it, because, again, Tomorrow by Together does play a lot with genre. There's everything from, like, again, like pop, a little bit of emo punk on there, a little bit more some of the retro sounds we see. There's some trap in there too, some funk, like it's all over the board, but it still kind of flows together because it still has that Tomorrow by Together sound that we've come accustomed to having from them. And so it just kind of helps carry this album through, because like I think
it creates like a more unified, like despite the different like genres that they're taking, they're still they're still unified with that that certain sound that makes them Tomorrow by Together, like it's still that element that like sticks that sticks all the songs together and have like a very consistent like theme to it.
Yeah, I will say, in my opinion, I think it takes a little bit of a dip in quality for me right around the middle with the two tracks, Ice Cream and What If I Had Been That Puma. Those kind of were some misses for me, and then it picks right back up at the end of the album.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually like kind of the opposite. Well, because with me, it's like I'm not really like a huge fan of Tomorrow by Together, and also like my days of like listening to like those heavy alt rock emo songs are like way in my past, so I was like not really in tune with like how like the music when I'm listening to it. I think with the fourth track with Ice Cream, it kind of feels like very much of like something I would listen to, because I'm such an old soul. Like I listen to a lot of like funk, like 70s funk and disco like playlists. So it kind of has like this really very much in spirit of like funkadelic with like the how it's produced. So I kind of like enjoy that by itself, like as a separate song. But I do agree, like it kind of like has like it feels very a bit more jarring in terms of the sound and their overall theme to it.
Yeah, it just feels a little jarring because like after like Anti-Romantic, because like I feel like Anti-Romantic, Love Song and Magic like kind of flow together really nicely, and then it just kind of really jars with Ice Cream and What If I Had Been That Puma, which I think was their like kind of their sequel to Puma from Dream Chapter Eternity, which is one of my favorite songs from Eternity. Like I love that, really kind of, that's definitely one of their darker songs from Eternity. Really play with like the trap hip hop on that. This is kind of a miss for me on this one because it's very monotone, like with the beats and with the auto tune and stuff, and it just kind of doesn't work for me. In terms of how it came together, it's a miss. But then it picks right back up for me towards the end with No Rules, Dear Sputnik, and Frost, and finishes off really, really strong, I think, for the album. Like, I think, like I said, that What If I'd Been the Puma is, like, I think my least favorite track on the album. It's a big miss for me. But the rest of it, I do appreciate, because, again, I do love them kind of playing with all the different genres on there, and like really kind of, again, establishing themselves completely different from other fourth generation groups, establishing themselves as like a main pillar of the fourth generation of K-pop. Like they really are, like, if you talk about the fourth generation of K-pop, Tomorrow by Together is like one of the kings of them. They're up there with Stray Kids, they're up there with ATEEZ, they're up there with, I would even put up there with Hyphen too. Like they really are like some of the pinnacles currently, like, and they have a very unique sound that's different than the rest of those groups too. So you can definitely tell like their songs, apart from everybody else.
Yeah.
So, did you have any favorite tracks off of Freeze?
Well, that I mentioned the Ice Cream song as like a separate like entity of itself, because it reminds me of like a certain like genre of like the 70s. And I think another song that I was able to appreciate slowly was the Dear Sputnik. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like, again, I think a common thing that we're going to be like seeing in this like in our reviews and as well as the news that we've been talking about with BTS is how like they're really appealing, or like trying to like seeping into like more of like an American type of sound. Yeah, because like the Dear Sputnik feels very much of like in the likes of Imagine Dragons or Bastille, and how like they would like produce their music, because it kind of reminds it kind of reminds me like Imagine Dragons and how they're like singing this and how they're like how the music sounds. And like I think I was able to appreciate like Dear Sputnik in that in that essence. And I think I would agree with you. I think their previous Minisode album, when their Minisode album was stronger, I guess, in terms of like creating like a unified one sound, or one certain like overall tone on in term in contrast to this current comeback with like the I forgot the name of it. Is it Chaos Chapter Freeze?
Chaos Chapter Freeze. Yeah, they kind of, with their albums, like I feel like they're kind of a little bit all over the board. Like when they do their more of their EPs, their mini albums, like they're a little more concise. Because like I kind of felt like Eternity was definitely more concise. From which is Eternity, and then Minisode 1 Blue Hour. This again is kind of a little bit all over the board, but I think it's a good establishing point to like where I think their sound's going to go, and kind of where I think their story is going to go. Because again, I feel like we're talking the Chaos Chapter, so I'm assuming like we're kind of getting to this point where like there's a lot of confusion when you're growing up and stuff. I'm assuming there's gonna be a lot of talk about that. I will shout out, I think Frost, the last track on the album, is a really good one. I think Frost does the trap hip hop better than What If I Had Been That Puma was attempting to do.
Yeah.
also knowing as being a MOA, their fandom, there's always a huge thing about having that last track as being something really, really important in terms of their music videos, in terms of their AU. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to tie into their AU, considering they've been tying a lot of magic currently into their alternate universe. And I know there's been a lot of frost and ice allegories currently with this promotion, obviously, with the title Freeze. So it's going to be very interesting to see how all this kind of ties together. So I'm very, very confused considering that, and considering, like, obviously we saw like the fire in the music video too. So it's very, very interesting to see kind of the duality between fire and ice, I think, in this era. So I'm going to be very, very interested in seeing where all this is going to happen, because that usually doesn't drop to like the end of the era. So
meanwhile, me, who doesn't like really follow like like the alternate universes and like the lores of like certain groups like 80s or Tomorrow by Together, I'm gonna be like just enjoying like the music by itself. Like,
what can I say? I'm the lore whore. What can I say? I like this stuff. It's really fun. But besides that too, I also wanted to give a shout out to the track No Rules. I think it feels very second gen vibes from it. Like, I felt like something that Shiny would have done back in the day. I got some like second gen K-pop vibes from No Rules.
I see.
The album. Like, I felt
for me, yeah,
it's just
for me. There.
It was just a very fun track. So I just think I think it's a very solid album. Again, establishing themselves completely separate from other groups of the fourth generation, and establishing themselves as a pillar of this current generation of K-pop. Like, completely different sound than most other groups you're going to see out there. And and again, everyone keeps, people like, because people were, I know when they first debuted were like, oh, they're gonna be the little brothers of BTS, but like they've by and far really established themselves as like artists that really should be taken seriously, because they really are very all talented individuals.
They
all
have
five
their
of
own
them.
there's certain unique aspect to them that that defines them away from BTS. Which I would say though, like some of the dance pop tracks that I would listen from, like TXT, from TXT, like especially like Blue Hour. I think I've noted this with when we talked about Butter, because like my first impression with Butter with BTS, it kind of reminds me of like Blue Hour from with TXT last year, because it has like this really like dance pop, like really bright overall tone into it, which BTS is starting to like I guess take like they're having like a more poppier upbeat tune with them. Just like something to note out, and seeing how like similar that they're kind of becoming with TXT and BTS. So I'm just like pointing that out and see if you see it as well.
Might be just something too with the writers that they bring into on Big Hit side possibly as well. But it'd be interesting to see if they may break away from that something too, or just kind of go back to having more stuff in house, because I know they've been kind of outsourcing more Western writers for their stuff as of late. So it'd be very interesting to see if they kind of go back to having some more stuff in house, or if they start having the members actually start writing their own stuff, because I think the members are starting to write more stuff to write together. So they're starting to get that input into their music. So it'll be very interesting to see where I think things go from here, especially with Smile by Together. So
okay, you know what I was about to say about like with No Rules, the first thing that I thought, because it kind of has like the really like bass of no, it kind of reminds me of that scene with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier with like Baron Zemo dancing with like this club beat. That's because I listened to like the song and kind of felt like similar with the first second it came up, and then I kind of I was like already doing like the Zemo dance, like no.
Were you gonna make another one of the Baron Zemo K-pop memes that we were making a couple months ago?
I don't feel like, I think people are like over the meme.
I think so.
I'm trying to focus on other like things, and I'm trying to like finish this video I wanted to release this week.
Yeah, no, I know
I
we have
wanted to
other
wanted to
content
go
we want to
through.
release. So we have other meme worthy content we want to release. So, but let's get into our last album of the week, which came out on Tuesday, from Monster X, and I guess this is their 9th mini album now
Mhm.
with Monster X, with One of a Kind and their title track Gambler. And to note with this album, so again, Monsta X being a 6-member group now, that Wonho unfortunately got removed from the group, but they're actually going to be promoting this as a 5-member group because
Oh.
Shonu is out currently, recovering from eye surgery. He had a detached retina pop up when they were actually working on I think filming the music video or working on stuff with promotion. And so he had to get immediate surgery on that. And so he's currently recovering from that. So they are currently promoting this album as a 5-member group.
Okay,
So
okay. Yeah, I could have. Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I don't think I've seen like Shono anywhere in the music video when I was watching it a while ago. Yeah, I don't.
yeah,
Yeah, I didn't even know that like he wasn't like. Yeah, he was like
he's
minimally.
he's kind of in the music video, but I know like when they're going to be promoting on the music shows and stuff, he won't be part of that, unfortunately, because
Okay, I
he's
see.
currently recovering from that eye surgery. So
Okay. Oh yeah, I see. Oh well, hopefully he recovers well.
I do too. I mean, eye surgery is tricky stuff, but it sounds like it went well. So, but he's got to heal up and let that all kind of work its way out. But with the title track Gambler, I have to say, I feel like this is kind of like a follow up to Love Killa from Fatal Love last year. Especially kind of with the music video too. It kind of feels like they're kind of doing this very underground crime ring storyline currently with their music videos.
Exactly, but I feel like with I think in terms of like the content of it, I think their new video is more tame, and
yes,
if you like compare it with like a Love Killa, not just because of the rating like 15, but I think we hear it's just like not a lot of like mature substances that like they they implemented in.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a little more tame than Love Killa, because Love Killa was definitely like there was some like borderline, like almost like, because like there's some like borderline like American Psycho references and stuff in Love Killa. This
more
is definitely a little bit
there,
more, a little more violence. Like this is definitely a little bit more tamer because like they're pulling more like a heist in this music video, but still kind of feels like that same kind of universe in a way.
Yeah,
in my mind. But as for the song itself, for Gambler, I do feel like they're kind of going back to like showcasing the vocalists more than the rappers. After everything from Fatal Love, because like I feel like last year's Fatal Love was like super like hip hop heavy. Like they were really focusing on showcasing the hip hop artists on Juhani and IM, and now I feel like they're kind of reverting back, and they're really focusing on the 4 vocalists now in the group.
Yeah, I feel like I think with the song, I think it's more of a right balance between the vocals and the rap the rap unit. Yeah, I think with this one, I think with me, like with Love Killa, it took me a while to be like for the song to grow on me. So I think this is like the same thing with with me and Gambler. Like the one that really like drove home, or like the one that really got me hooked, was like the chorus break, dance break that they did, which it showcased more of like the rap heavy like portion of the of the arrangement. I think with their usage of like the really dark heavy EDM, it kind of really drives into the rhythm and like has like creates a better smooth transitions between like the vocals and then going into the rap verse.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that helps too with the fact that both Juhani and IM have writing credits, and Juhani actually has like most of the production. Like he helped lead most of the production, and this is like the first single, or at least title track, that he's had a lot of hands on with the production of for Monsta X. So I can definitely kind of tell like he's definitely had his hands on this, and I think it definitely helps with the betterment because it definitely feels a little bit more balanced again between vocal and rap line. I agree, because like I said, I think Love Killa, I know a lot of mom babies loved Love Killa. It took me a while to get into that one. Gambler a little bit too, but I feel like I got into Gambler a little quicker than I did Love Killa. I don't know, there's something about it, because I mean, it just feels like it kind of goes back to like having them doing this more like clubbier, sleeker, sexier beat to it that they're like really good about doing with their style, and that Starship just really utilizes with them. It definitely has that kind of feel to it, and like I think they really excel in that. And that's just kind of their style.
Yeah, because I think whenever I think about Monster X, try not to be like really like thirsting over like their physical appearances, but I think when you differ them with a bunch of like K-pop groups, because you know how like they would like typically say, oh, a lot of like K-pop groups they're so skinny and like they're really like more leaning into like the feminine side, but with Monster X, like with their with how like they're physically built, they're like more of like the very more muscular K-pop group. And it really helps with how they look and like how like their music, that they always have like this really noisy, almost like a very like very drony like heavy EDM that kind of makes you feel a bit like intimidated, or like very like gets you tense. Because if you like listen to like music from I think I think it was with the Shootout, like the first like, thing it dropped and it has like that do and like it kind of feels like, oh shit, like I'm kind of like backed off for it, like in the corner. That's how I like whenever I like listen to Monster X, and I think they were able to accomplish that that feat when they did like the chorus breakdown and with Gambler, kind of like that that element with them.
Yeah, I think they just really excel, because they definitely more exude that more masculine energy, I guess, better. I mean I know, because a lot of people like look at K-pop idols and are like, they definitely are more androgynous, but like they definitely are more on that side of more masculine.
Yeah.
I mean, not to take away from their beauty at all, because I think they are very gorgeous and lucky men. They all are. But they
just to like describe them in terms of being like how they are different with other like in terms of other groups.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, they definitely kind of are definitely that more drony EDM style, but like it definitely has like that very clubby sound. Like, and I feel like this whole album kind of definitely thrives in that clubby sound to me. I think it really kind of carries through out the whole entire album. Like, I definitely think I like this album better than I liked Fatal Love.
Fatal Love. Yeah.
Because I think Fatal Love just felt a little bit all over the place for me, and then I guess I was really they really try to go really hip hop heavy on that one, and it felt like it was a miss for me. This kind of feels more to like the Monsta X that I know, that I'm more familiar with. I mean, I won't call myself a mom baby. I'm not super like mom baby status. I feel like, I mean, I'm familiar with their stuff, but I won't consider myself a mom baby. But it just feels very more like they're kind of like laying in music and more what I more expect from them.
Yeah.
So
and I mean, it really helps too. Like they're they are like incorporating some like really mature subject matters into into their music, because I did notice, especially whenever they like do like their more English majority like singles from their album, talks about like like having like this really like this interaction that you have in clubs, and having like the kind of like a one night stand kind of thing, with like in perspective, especially with that song Secrets, which is my I think my favorite track from the entire album. Yeah, it goes into like very like they're not really like, not really like subtle, like they're really like explicit when it comes like their like the lyricisms.
Yeah. And crazy enough, like the last couple songs in the album, Secrets and Baby Bay and Rotate, are all majorly written by members of the group. Secrets and Baby are written by Hongwon. Majority of those are written, and then Rotate's written a majority by IM. So the members have more input on this one as well, more input into the album, and have, I think, a lot more hands-on into it. And I think you can definitely tell that they've had, more talk and more like control over this one.
Yeah.
it really shines, especially because like, I mean, like my favorite tracks were really like the last couple tracks, like between Secrets, Baby, and Rotate. For me, like it's just something about like them having that kind of control. Just really, you can kind of tell through the music that like this is stuff that they like, that they wanted to put out there. So, but yeah, I like Secrets. I mean, it's primarily in English, like a majority of it's in English, and you really do kind of get that vibe. Like I got almost like this 80s nightlife vibe kind of getting picked up, late night in the nightclub, kind of feeling from that song, like, like one night stand kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's, again, they like, this is definitely like late night, like going out music from them. So, I mean, I think this is where they thrive. I think this is where Monsta X thrives in terms of like their color and their style and their genre. So.
And it's good too, like, they're able to accomplish that, able to improve, as well as, it helps that they have their hands or like more creative input with them as like members.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's very, it's great that they're able to accomplish that, being almost like self-made and self-produced by like the members themselves.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like trying to see, is like, especially as like, they start getting older and they get, more familiar with like the production side of things, that they get, their hands a little more dirty and get to these, like, have a little more creative control of their music. Like I like seeing that, and I'm happy to see that more and more in K-pop. And we've said this a lot of times on the show, but it's again really nice to see in the genre. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid album from them. It's again, I won't, like, I'm not a self-proclaimed Mamba Bay at all. Like, I'm familiar with their stuff. This feels like more of a return to form than Fatal Love was last year. So, and I'm pretty okay with it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's it for this week for new music. I mean, again, we're recording on a Wednesday, so we don't have Kingdom, because Kingdom will be the final episode will be tomorrow. From the day we're recording, as well as Mamamoo did drop their album today, but for sake of time and for sake of our sanity, we are going to actually push that review to next week. We're going to push that to next week's episode, but we're going to have a massive episode next week, because we'll have Mamamoo's new mini album. We're going to have new music from XO, which I know Ginny's really excited.
Like, okay, like legends from like third generation legends from K-pop, EXO and Twice.
Yes.
Like one week. Oof.
I know we have some major legends coming out with new music next week between EXO and Twice. We do have a solo debut next week from BM from Card, which I've been looking forward to his solo debut. So we knew that was going to be coming eventually with J-Stuff being in the military. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got coming solo wise. And then again, we're going to have our Kingdom finale coverage, see who wins, who actually takes the crown in Kingdom, although I have sneaking suspicion of who's going to win, but I digress. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm really happy Kingdom's over, because oh my god, it's been a shit show. Not gonna lie, I'm actually kind of happy with all the, like, the subtle jabs and not so subtle jabs some of the groups were making last week with their performances.
I think that's like the positive thing that that would have come from Kingdom is, I think, a lot of those groups are going to be like doing like comebacks, so it's a really great opportunity for them to be in Kingdom and then being able to promote themselves, so people will be able to be familiar, like, oh man, yeah, I like this group from like Kingdom. So I think that would be a good way for them to like kind of ease off, and then like being able to make themselves more known now that
Yeah, I know SF, out of all the groups, I know SF9's actually announced a July comeback. Nobody else has announced a comeback yet. I am sitting here hoping
BTB. Is it
BTB?
I don't know. Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from BTB yet. I know, well, 5 out of the 6 groups are part of KCON. The only group who's not is ATs, and I really want ATs just to go take a freaking month off because they've been going hardcore since Fever Part 2 came out, and they just need to go sleep for a month at this rate. Yeah. So, and between that and the drama, like, they need to go sleep. Yeah, so, like, it's been insanity, and I'm happy Kingdom's over, especially with all the drama. Mnet being a snake, as the boys literally put a snake on their stage last week. That may or may not have been a subtle jab at Mnet. We're not 100% sure. I'm gonna say it was. Still laughing at Dongho throwing that crown off the top of the stairs during AT's performance, because that's still, yeah, because it's basically AT saying, yeah, screw your crown. Goodbye. Fuck this crown. And then also because with the final round of Kingdom, everyone dropped new music last week with it, and Icon may or may not have thrown some subtle jabs at Mnet in their song. So that sounds about right.
Mnet again.
That's YG artists being YG artists, which I'm okay with this at this point. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I think we'll have a special guest on our show next week. I think we're gonna have a returning guest back because I think he wanted to join us for some Twice talk.
Yeah.
So, and then I'm gonna subject him to my ranting about Kingdom probably.
Help, and if he's able to show up, like we're gonna give him like the agenda of like next week. So when we're already talking about it, and if you want to just to prepare yourself, if you want to talk about other things other than Twice, then go ahead.
Because we have a jam-packed episode next week. I mean, episode 31 is going to be massive, but otherwise, I think that does it this week for us on the Noonas. Do you want to go ahead and plug yourself then, Ginny?
Yeah, for sure. So you can find me on Facebook at Ginny Leano. So that is GINNYLEANO. And you can also find me on my design page on Facebook, which is at Ginny Leano Designs, all in small caps. And my design page on Instagram, which is at Ginny Designs. And all of my other links of personal pages will be found within the bio or in any of my posts in there. And back to you, Jenny.
And you can find me, Jenny. You can find me over on Facebook, facebook.com/Jenny Matasek. That's Jenny with an I, Matasek. You can find me over on Instagram and on Twitter at Chaos Bulldog. You can also find the Noonas podcast show pages over on Instagram and on Twitter at Noonas_podcast. Don't forget the underscore. You can also check out our Spotify playlist and our SoundCloud links to our shows under those bios. Just click the bios of those handles. And you can always check out the video form of our show over on Facebook with the Metropolis Collective. Thanks again, you guys, for hosting our show each and every week over there. This has been the Noonas podcast for this week. Cool. We're going to have a hell of a show next week. Yeah, we're gonna have a hell of a show, and I think after that we may have to go sleep. Next week, we might go sleep after next week. We don't know. We might. So stay tuned to that. But I guess with that, this is a resounding fighting.